What I love is Artie Moreno. He is the owner of the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles. And he had a free agent signing yesterday and then a quote that was a chef's kiss. So he has a GM named Perry Managian, and they have a team. They had Trout and Ohtani, and they've never been able to build a team around those guys. No playoff appearances. They think they can be the Dodgers, but they can't. At least the Padres think they can be the Dodgers and sign players and make the playoffs. The Angels just stink. Wasted Mike Trout's career along with his injuries. Wasted Ohtani's first 6 years before he became a free agent. But now, apparently, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim have decided this is their moment. They brought in Kyle Hendricks from Chicago. They've got a great young core. Sign him as a free agent. He's a Chicago Cubs castaway. He's a number 7 starter. Give him a couple million, bring him in, and then call it veteran leadership. They did it again yesterday with the former catcher from the Braves. You may know him from your team, Travis d'Arnaud. Really good player. But he's a complimentary. He's not an everyday catcher. He got his option not picked up by the Braves. And he became a free agent and was signed to this crazy deal. $12 million for 2 years. That may sound like chump change. What's the big deal? But for a backup catcher, the going rate a decade ago was $1 million. I guess we're now up to $6 million if you can provide veteran leadership. And I'm not in any way impugning Travis d'Arnaud as a player. I'm merely saying $12 million for 2 years guaranteed seems a little heavy, but we know why now. Because Artie Moreno has come out and said, there was an article by Bill Shaken. I got to tell you, this is a good quote by Moreno. We're going to be working a little harder on streaming. There are just so many platforms now. Have you ever heard? That's what I think an octogenarian would sound like who's trying to sound cool. And this happens to me when I'm with Coca and Sarah before the show, and I try to sound cool, and I'm merely in my 50s, but they're not, obviously, and they know way more than I do and have heard of way more things and are way more hip. But sometimes I try to say things, and that's when I have illiterate alliterations. That's when I mix my metaphors, and that's when I get made fun of. I can picture Artie Moreno right now. It's sort of like the original board of MLB.com. If you know, you know. There's a bunch of old white people trying to figure out the internet when it was first starting. And it was funny, those board meetings that we had in baseball where we'd hear from all of these older owners. This is the future. And they didn't understand one thing about what it was, which is fine. But Artie Moreno said that he views the new TV landscape. Now, keep in mind, Artie Moreno and the Angels cut a deal similar to what I had arranged with the Marlins before Derek Jeter went a different direction and ended up going the same direction for less money, actually. But again, I slightly digress, where you get a rights fee from your regional sports network, but you also get an equity interest, which means you get a guaranteed amount of money per year given to you for your games. And then if there's any profit that the channel has at the end of the year, you own 25% of the channel and they distribute the profits and you get 25% of the profits. So you get your minimum guarantee and then you get a percentage of the upside. In the old days, the RSNs were spitting off a ton of cash, which is why the Yankees and Yes Network and the Red Sox and NESN, it's why they had so much cash available to them and why their payrolls were so high, because they were operating at such a profit and they owned the network. So imagine if you get $30 million a year in rights fees, but then the network has $100 million of profit. You get 25 million of that by owning 25%. So you get your rights fee plus your equity distribution, it's called. When we did those deals, the regional networks were worth something. Now they're worth nothing. Literally nothing. They have no profit. Their equity is worth zero. Their debt far exceeds their equity. That's called, wait for it, bankruptcy, which Diamond has been in for what feels like years, but I think is under 2 years. So what Artie Moreno did, along with several of the other baseball teams, is they said to their partner, Diamond, all right, here's what we'll do. We'll keep our equity interest in you, but we're going to really open up the flexibility for how we deliver our games. We'll have an over-the-air component. We'll have a streaming platform component. We can do a game-by-game component. We're going to get rid of the blackouts. We're going to do all sorts of things differently because you're not giving us either the rights fee that we contracted to or the equity distribution that we expected to have because the channel is not profitable anymore. We've seen teams do this offseason. And frankly, they started last offseason when MLB started producing. And what we've learned is Bill DeWitt of the Cardinals actually told you the TV revenue is down. You've heard owners and presidents say, we're excited about the reach, which is code word for we're not excited about the money, so we can't say that, but we have to say it's exciting that so many more people can enjoy our product. Then Commissioner Rob Manfred comes out and says, listen, we can produce games for our teams, but there is short-term pain here. He's not talking to you, the fans. He's talking to the union. So the union is aware that there is going to be an issue with payrolls, overall payroll, overall contractual obligations to players. Artie Moreno, for whatever reason, believes that he's playing chess to the rest of the world's checkers and that his TV revenue is going to increase. So he sends out Perry Menagin and says, we're buyers. And then they sign Hendricks and Darno. I just find the whole thing untenable, funny, sad, pathetic, disingenuous, and overall a poor plan.